absolutely believe in Carson Wentz as a player. Joy Taylor and my guy DB are back. But, y'all, I have to remind you all, along with everyone, that Carson Wentz is still a dude. So many people talk about, well, we got to see 2017 Carson Wentz. He hasn't been good in 3 years. 2017, 2018, 2019, Carson Wentz the only quarterback in the NFL with 3 consecutive 20-touchdown seasons and 7 interceptions or less. 2019, just a little over, a calendar year ago. Carson Wentz, 4,000 yards with no 500-yard receivers. We don't need to see 2017 Carson Wentz. We just need to see 2019 Carson Wentz. 2016 Carson Wentz's rookie year. We can toss that to the side. It was a rookie season. Nobody's great as a rookie. 17, 18, and 19, he was a top 10 quarterback. 17, he was a top 5 quarterback. So if I'm doing my math correctly, and I will continue to remind y'all I'm no mathematician, but if I'm doing my math correctly, Carson Wentz has been great much more frequently than he has been bad. So that's how I feel. That's my belief. But, DB, you're the former Colt. You got a lot of vested interest in Carson Wentz's performance. How much belief do you have in Carson Wentz?
All those stats sound great, but
Thank you.
we saw the film. We saw the tape. Like, he stunk it up last year, and we knew he would be benched and sitting up out of there. But I think the Colts was a great landing spot for him. If I had to put on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll say about a 7. My faith in Carson Wentz, but I got 10 when it comes to my faith in Chris Ballard and that roster, and Frank Wright working with Wentz. And seeing Wentz interview with Pat McAfee on his show, you could tell he's much more comfortable being in the Midwest with his family. It's much more of his type of lifestyle, much different than being in Philly. So I got confidence in Wentz to bounce back and not be the same guy from 2017, but more of a Wentz 2.0. He brought T.Y. back, who brings back a ton of leadership. He brought Marlon Mack back. Got a great old line. Jonathan Taylor had a breakout year as a rookie. So it's a lot of the defense. They were a dominant defense last year. So it's a great roster around Wentz. So for that reason, I definitely believe in him at about a 7 right now.
Here's my thing, though. Here's my thing. We can't sit here and try to extrapolate Carson Wentz's performance isolated from the coach, because quarterbacks only perform as good as their coach. So, Joy, keeping in mind what DB said, the coach plus the general manager, how much belief do you have in Carson Wentz this year?
What's the scale are we talking about? Do I believe that Carson Wentz can win a playoff game? Do I believe that Carson Wentz can get the Colts to the AFC Championship game in a few years? Sure. Do I think that Carson Wentz is capable of winning a Super Bowl? I don't know yet. We know that the Colts are a great organization. They're much more stable than Philadelphia. Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, he's going to be in a more comfortable situation. He's not dealing with the Philadelphia media. He's not dealing with the Philadelphia fans. But Carson Wentz fell apart. So he's going to be in a more comfortable situation. He's going to have an offensive line. He's going to have a running game. Everything is set up for him to be successful. I want to see him do it. To me, I feel like Carson Wentz has been anointed. Yes, he is a great quarterback. He did not personally win a Super Bowl. He did not win an MVP. No one has ever gotten more credit for an MVP they did not win than Carson Wentz. I like Carson Wentz. I think he's very talented. And you're right, Emmanuel. He does have very impressive years. He's overcome other injuries, but he fell apart. So now he's got to prove himself to me.
All right, well, let's talk about this then, because so many people doubt that Carson Wentz can get back to being great. Do you think that Carson Wentz can get back to being the 2019 or 18 or 17 Carson Wentz that we saw for 3 consecutive years in Indianapolis, or do you think that's a far-fetched ask?
No, I think he absolutely will. But what is the standard, right? Every different organization has a standard. Is he going to win a Super Bowl? Because I feel like that should be the standard for Carson Wentz in this trade. And for that organization and for that roster, they should be in Super Bowl contention with the hype that Carson Wentz has. You obviously appreciate Carson Wentz a lot, and I do too. I just think I don't understand what Carson Wentz faced in Philadelphia that every other player in NFL history hasn't faced. What is so unprecedented about it?
I mean, I think that you bring somebody behind a starting quarterback who thinks he's going to be solidified as the guy. I think Carson Wentz a little too emotional. It was a little too rocky. I think that got to him. But, DB, I got to come back to you, because Phillip Rivers, he threw 20 interceptions before he got to the Colts. Then Phillip Rivers, a 38 to 39-year-old Phillip Rivers, mind you, goes from throwing 20 interceptions to just 11 interceptions when he gets to the Colts. So clearly, Frank Wright is up to some sort of wizardry with his quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers nearly beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game, and I submit that the only reason the Colts lost the playoff game was because of Phillip Rivers. 2.5 minutes left. He couldn't drive down to even get a field goal. Is Carson Wentz not good enough to at least get the Colts that already have a top 10 defense, 3 Pro Bowlers, Pro Bowl center, Pro Bowl left guard, only missing probably a left tackle and a stud receiver? Is Carson Wentz not good enough to get the Colts to a AFC championship at a minimum?
I think he is. I mean, the talent, like Joyce said, like you said, the talent is undeniable. It's going to be, to me, it comes down to confidence with Carson Wentz and mental toughness. And you know how important those things are as a football player. So we got to see if he has that consistently throughout the year and if he can make those big plays in those big moments. Josh Allen played a tremendous game. I remember that game vividly. He had a huge drive, like a 90-something yard, 2-minute drive to end the half. And that's what it's going to come down to. Carson Wentz making huge plays. And I wouldn't say they don't have a standout receiver. We got T.Y. back, who's kind of fell off in some eyes.
T.Y.'s like 31 years old, DB. You talking about your bias now. You talking about your bias, DB.
Hey, trust me, with T.Y., you'll see a different T.Y. this year. You got an arm, or you got a quarterback that can extend plays, that can stretch the field. That's where T.Y. kills you. He's not a possession receiver. He's a guy that's going to take the top off of defense. And I think Carson Wentz, you'll see that element, along with Michael Pittman Jr., who showed some promise last year as well.
Let me ask you this then. What piece are the Colts missing from keeping them? What piece do the Colts need to get them to a Super Bowl? I think they need a stud left tackle. I'm not banking on T.Y. Hilton at 31 years of age, who hasn't seen a 1,000-yard season in a few years. I'm not banking on him. I know you have your Colts T-shirt underneath your fresh button down, but I'm not banking on him. So what piece are the Colts missing, and what do they need to get them to a Super Bowl?
At the top of that list, I would say a dynamic pass rusher. And if you look at this draft, it doesn't look very strong in that market. Same with free agency, but they got to find one out of somewhere. But that's what they're missing with this defense. They play a lot of things, keep everything in front of them, rally and tackle, turn the ball over. You got DeForest in the middle, you got Grover in the middle. We just need a stud coming off that edge, and I think that'll be the missing piece.
Yeah, Darius, I agree with you. I think an edge rusher. I do think they could use one more receiver, although I do like T.Y. Hilton a little more than Emmanuel, and I like Michael Pittman a lot. But the biggest thing I agree with you on, Darius, is the confidence. That's what Carson Wentz lost. For whatever reason, we can, lean towards why that happened. It was gone. It was obvious. And now he's set up to have a season where he can get his confidence back. So I don't know if this is the year they go straight to the AFC Championship game or straight to the Super Bowl contention, but I do think that they will be better, and he's going to be in a much more comfortable situation.
Well, I have said this before. The basketball in my hands is worth roughly $12. The basketball in the hands of James Harden is worth roughly $206 million. A football in my hands is not worth a lot of money.